What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of High Mythology. Woo. The show where we get high enough to talk to fish. We tell you guys silly stories from mythology and folklore. Today, we're getting oral again. We're going to throw some more Indian folk tales over here. Woo.
Some good shit.
Some good shit.
Some real good shit.
We got some more Indian folk tales from India.
These ones are epic.
Hella epic, yo.
I think they're epic.
Hella epic.
They are.
Well, without further ado then, Kimbo, jump on into it.
Oh, shit. All right.
Yeah, unless you got anything else to say.
Some good weed.
Some good weed.
I'll cough like that in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, first story. The barber and the Brahmin demon. Wonder where this one's going to go, huh? They meet in a bar, huh? Just kidding. Jesus walks in.
Jesus walks in. And he's like, you guys on a Tuesday?
Really? In the district of Burdwan.
In the district of Burnwan.
There lived a barber who was very idle. He would do no work and devoted his time to preening himself with an old mirror and a broken comb. His old mother rebuked him all day for this. Rebuked.
There we go.
Thank you.
Rebuckled.
Ooh, that weed. Rebuked him all day for this, but it didn't touch him. No. At last, one day, in a fit of anger, she struck him with her broom. That was fucking it. The young barber felt humiliated by this and left home, determined never to return until he had amassed some wealth. He walked far till he reached a forest and thought of praying to the gods for help. But as he entered the forest, he met. See, that weed is really.
Your face is melting.
He met with a Brahmara Shasta.
Brahmara Kashka.
Shasta. Brahmara Shasta. A demon who was once a Brahmin, dancing wildly. He was terrified, but he kept his wits about him. Play cool, brah. So he mustered all of his courage and began to dance too, keeping time with the demon. And after a while, he asked the demon,
why are you dancing? What has made you so happy?
The demon laughed and said,
I was waiting for your question because I knew you were a fool and didn't know the reason. It's simply because I want to feast on dead flesh. That's why. Now tell me, why are you dancing?
The barber returned.
Oh, I have a far better reason. Our king's son is very sick. The doctors have recommended for his cure the heart's blood of 101.
Yeah, go ahead, say it.
Scotchmen. His Majesty has proclaimed by beat of drum that it'll give away half of its kingdom and one of its beautiful daughters to anyone who gets the medicine. I have, with great trouble, captured 100 Brahmasasas. And now, with you, I'd make the full quote of 101. I've already seized your soul. You are my pocket. In my pocket.
And so saying, he took out his pocket mirror and held it before the
pocket mirror. No.
Before his eyes. The terrified demon found his image in the glass. He could see it there and in clear moonlight and thought himself actually captured. He trembled and prayed to the barber to release him, and the barber would not agree at first. But the demon promised him wealth and worth the ransom of 7 kings. Pretending to yield unwillingly, the barber said,
but where is the wealth you promise? And who will carry it? Me to my house, at this hour in the dead of night.
The demon said,
The treasure is under that tree behind you. I'll show it to you. And I'll carry you with it to your house in the instant. As you know, we demons have special powers. Woohoo.
And saying this, he uprooted the tree and brought out 7 golden jars full of precious stones. The barber was dazzled by all the wealth, but he cunningly concealed his true feelings and boldly ordered the demon to carry the jars and himself at once to his house. The demon obeyed, and the barber was carried home with all the wealth. The demon then begged to be released, but the barber didn't wish to part with his services so soon, so he asked him to cut the paddy into the fields and bring the crop home. The poor demon believed himself still in the barber's clutches, and so consented to reap the grain. As he was cutting the paddy, another brother demon happened to pass by the way, and he asked the Burmakashasha what he was doing. The first demon told him how he had accidentally fallen into the hands of a shrewd man and had no way of escaping his clutches unless he did as he was told, and so he was reaping the man's rice crop. The second demon laughed and said, "You have gone mad, my friend. We demons are superior to men and much more powerful. How can any man have any power? Now wine is so much better. How can any man have any power over us? No. Can you show me the house of this man?" And the first demon replied,
"Well, I can, but only from a distance. I dare not to go near it till I've cut all this paddy down."
Then he showed him the way to the barber's house. Meanwhile, the barber was celebrating his newfound wealth. He had bought a big fish for the party, but unfortunately the cat had entered the kitchen through a broken window and had eaten up most of it. The barber's wife was very angry and wanted to kill the animal. When she went after it, the cat escaped through the same window by which it had entered. Knowing the ways of the cat, she expected it to return, so she stood there waiting with a fish knife in her hand. Now the second Barakamashasha tiptoed like a thief towards the house and wanted to take a peek at his friend's captor. So he slowly thrust his bushy head through the broken window, and the angry wife...
Stab! Fuck you, cat! Yeah, I'm starting to feel like the demons aren't actually the demons in this story.
I know, right? The angry wife, who was waiting there for the naughty cat, brought down her sharp knife on the intruding demon and made a clean slash through his long nose, cutting off the tip. In pain and fright, the demon ran away, ashamed of showing his friend a face minus a nose. The first demon patiently reaped all the grain and came back to the barber for his release. The wily barber showed him the back in the mirror, and the Burkshamasha looked at it anxiously and was relieved not to find his image in it. So he fetched a deep sigh and went his way, dancing with a light heart. The end.
The end.
So simple.
Yeah, so simple. The dancing demon. He's cut his nose off. He's just sticking his head in. What could humans ever do to mess with me? I'm a demon. Oh my God, that was my nose. She just had a knife
mutilated
ready. She just mutilated me. Glad I didn't go with my first thought of sticking my penis through the window.
Oh God. It was not a people, motherfucker. Some good shit.
Some good shit.
Although I probably shouldn't have smoked more. My eyesight might get worse.
The brother
Second story. Why the fish laughed. As a fisherwoman passed by the palace hawking her fish, the queen appeared at once in one of the windows and beckoned her to come near and show her what she had. At that moment, a very big fish jumped about in the bottom of the basket. The queen asked, "Is this male or female? I'd like to buy the female fish, please." On hearing this, the fish laughed aloud. And the fisherwoman replied, "It is a male," and continued on her rounds. The queen returned to her room in a great rage. When the king came to see her that evening, he could tell that something was wrong. He asked,
"What is the matter? Are you not well?"
The queen said, "I am quite well, thank you. But I am very annoyed at the strange behavior of one fish. A woman showed it to me yesterday, and when I asked her whether it was a female or a male, the fish laughed most rudely. The king said.
A fish laughed? Impossible! You must be dreaming. Whoa.
The queen said, I am not a fool. I saw it with my own eyes, and I heard it laugh with my very own ears. The king said,
Well, that's very strange. All right, I'll get my detective geese together and we'll make some inquiries.
The next morning, the king told his wazir, the minister, that his wife had told him and ordered the wazir to investigate the matter and be ready with a satisfactory answer within 6 months, on pain of death.
On pain of death.
The wazir promised to do his best, though he didn't know where to begin. For the next 5 months, he labored tirelessly to find a reason for the laughter of the fish. He went everywhere and consulted everyone, the wise and the learned, the people skilled in magic and trickery. They were all consulted. Nobody could explain the mystery of the laughing fish. So he returned broken-hearted to his house and began to arrange his affairs. Sure now that he was going to die. He was well enough acquainted with the king's ways to know that his majesty would not go back on his threat. Among other things, he advised his son to travel for a time until the king's anger had cooled off somewhat. The young fellow, who was both clever and handsome, started off and went wherever his legs and his kismet would take him. After a few days, he fell in with an old farmer who was on his way back to his village from a journey. The young man found him pleasant and asked if he might go with him. The old farmer agreed, and they walked along together. The day was hot, and the way was long and weary. The young man said,
This is just such a dick thing to say to an old man. Don't you think it would be much more pleasant if we could carry one another sometimes?
The old man thought.
What a fool this man is.
A little later, they passed through a field of grain ready for a sickle and waving in the breeze, looking like a sea of gold. The young man asked,
Is this eaten or not?
The old man didn't know what to say and said,
I don't know. Go fuck yourself.
After a little while, the two travelers came to a big village where the young man handed his companion a pocket knife and said,
Take this, friend, and get 2 horses with it. But please bring it back. It's very precious.
The old man was half amused and half angry. He pushed away the knife, muttering that his friend was either mad or trying to play the fool. The young man pretended not to notice his reply and remained silent for a long time until they reached a city, a short distance from the old farmer's village. They walked about the bazaar and went to the mosque, but nobody greeted them or invited them to come in and rest. The young man exclaimed,
What a large cemetery.
The old farmer thought.
What does this fellow mean? Calling this city full of people a cemetery.
Upon leaving the city, their way led through the cemetery where some people were praying beside a grave and distributing unleavened bread. Chapatis? It's
unleavened bread.
To passerbys in the name of their beloved dead. They gave some of the bread to the two travelers also, as much as they could eat even. The young man said,
What a splendid city this is.
The old farmer thought.
Oh, this man is surely crazy. I wonder what he'll do next. He'll be calling the land water in the water land. He'll be speaking of light when it's dark, of darkness when it's light.
But he kept his thoughts to himself. Presently they had waded through a stream, and the water was rather deep, so the old farmer took off his shoes and his pajamas and crossed over. But the young man waded through it with his shoes and pajamas on. The old man says to himself,
Well, I've never seen such a perfect idiot in the world. Indeed.
In word and deed.
In word and deed. I haven't seen him in the world or in the word and deed.
Yet he liked the fellow. He seemed cultivated and aristocratic. He would certainly amuse his wife and daughter, and so he invited him home for a visit. The young man thanked him and then asked,
But let me ask you, if you please, if the beam of your house is strong.
The old farmer mumbled something and went home to tell his family, laughing to himself. When he was alone with them, he said,
This young man has come with me a long way, and I've asked him to stay with us. But the fellow is such a fool that I can't make anything of what he says or does. He wants to know if the beam of the house is all right. The man must be mad.
Now the farmer's daughter was a very sharp and wise girl. She said to him, Papa, this man, he is whoever he is no fool. He only wishes to know if you can afford to entertain him. The farmer says,
Of course I can. Marcy, well, perhaps you can help me to solve some of his other mysteries. While we were walking together, he asked whether we should not carry one another. He thought it would be a pleasanter mode of travel.
The girl said, Certainly. He meant that one of you should tell the other story to pass the time. Her father said,
Oh, yes, sir. When,
Colonel Hothy.
Colonel Hothy. And when we were passing through a wheat field, he asked me whether it was eaten or not.
The daughter said, And didn't you know what he meant, father? Papa. He simply wished to know if the owner of the field was in debt or not. If it was in debt, then the produce of the field was as good as eaten. That is, it would all go to his creditors. Her father said,
Oh, yes, of course. And upon entering a village, he asked me to take his pocket knife and get 2 horses with it and bring the knife back to him.
She says, Are not 2 stout sticks as good as 2 horses for helping one along the road? He only asked you to cut a couple of sticks and be careful not to lose the knife.
I instantly thought of them riding the sticks like they were horses. This isn't helping at all.
The farmer said.
I see. While we were walking through the city, we did not see anyone we knew. Not a soul gave us a scrap of anything to eat till we reached the cemetery. There, some people called us and thrust chapaters. That's unleavened bread. Into our hands. So my friend called the city a cemetery and the cemetery a city.
She said, Look, father, inhospitable people are worse than the dead, and a city full of them is like a dead place. But in the cemetery, which is crowded with the dead, you are greeted by kind people who gave you bread. The astonished farmer said. It was totally unleavened.
Tonight's episode is sponsored by Chapatis. It's unleavened bread. Well. Yeah, true, quite true. But then, just now, when we were crossing the stream, he waved the cloth without taking off even his shoes or letting his balls tingle.
The daughter says, I admire his wisdom. I've often thought of how stupid people were to get into that swiftly flowing stream and walk all over those sharp-ass stones with their bare feet. Ouch.
No.
The slightest stumble and they would fall and get wet from head to foot. Your friend of yours is a very wise man. Yes. I would like to see him and talk to him and maybe cuddle and maybe play with his hair.
Maybe we shall tickle each other's buttholes while we smoke cigarettes and watch sad plays in black and white.
Her father said.
I feel like you're going to bang this man, but very well, I'll go and find him and bring him in. He's just outside, staring at the sun. Turns out you were wrong. He was just dumb. Ow. Ow.
She says, Tell him, father, that our beams are strong enough, and then he will come in. I will send on ahead a present for the man and show him that we can afford a guest, yes. Yes, we can afford one, yes.
Yes.
And then she called a servant and sent him to the young man with the present of a dish of porridge, 12 chapatas, and a jar of milk with the following message. Friend, the moon is full. 12 months make a year, and the sea is overflowing with water.
Water. So wet.
On his way, the bearer of the present and message met his little son, who, seeing what was in the basket, begged his father to give him some of the food.
Give me the food, Papa.
The foolish man gave him a lot of the porridge, a chapali, and some milk. And when he saw the young man, he gave him the present and the message. He replied,
I give your mistress my greetings, and tell her that the moon is new, and I can find only 11 months in the year, and that the sea is by no means full. And also I made a poop.
Not understanding the meaning of these words, the servant repeated them word for word to his mistress. And thus, his theft was discovered, and he was punished.
Punishment.
I'm going to go ahead and say that...
It was all the kid. He jumped me.
I know, right? After a little while, the young man appeared with the old farmer, and he was treated royally, as if it were the son of a great man, though the farmer knew nothing of his origins. In the course of the conversation, he told them everything about the fish's laughter, his father's threatened execution, and his own exile, and asked their advice about what he should do. The girl said, "The laughter of the fish, which seems to have been the cause of this trouble, indicates that there is a man in the woman's quarters of the palace, and the king does not know anything about it. She dirty whore."
She's a dirty whore. There were like 7 dudes up there.
The wazir's son exclaimed.
Great, that's great. It's yet time for me to return and save my father from a shameful and unjust death.
The following day, he rushed back to his own country, taking with him the farmer's daughter. And when he arrived, he ran to the palace and told his father what he had heard. The poor wazir, now almost dead from the expectation of death, was carried at once to the king in a palanquin. He repeated the king what his son had said, and the king said,
"Someone's banging my wife? No one gets to bang my wife, not even me, never."
The wazir replied,
"But it must be so, your majesty, and to prove the truth of what I've just heard, I propose a test. Please call together all the female attendants in your palace and order them to jump over a large pit, specifically dug for this purpose. The man will at once betray his sex by the way he jumps. You'll see his dong flapping in the wind."
The king had the pit dug and ordered all the female servants of the palace to try and jump over it. All of them tried, but only one succeeded. That one was found to be a man.
He's got a full beard. How did you not notice before? Yeah.
Thus was the queen satisfied and the faithful old wazir saved. Thus was the queen satisfied.
Okay, as punishment, you've got to go bang my wife.
Soon
Okay.
after that, the wazir's son married the old farmer's daughter, and it was the most happy of marriages.
Such a happy marriage. They're such a good couple. They're such a good couple. Sure, they're both weird and you know, the farmer's daughter did have a head injury when she was young. It's kind of
things happen.
Things happen. And the laughing fish went on to do stand-up comedy. He's a big hit in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, he's on most people's walls. Just sings and dances at you.
A special guest on the Tonight Show, Laughing Fish.
Nice. All right. Story number 3. A parrot called Hiraman. A bird catcher and his wife were always in want. One day his wife said to him,
"I'll tell you why you're poor." It's an unhealthy relationship. You can tell by the first. "I'll tell you why you're poor. It's because you sell every fucking bird you catch. If I had married your brother, I'd be living in a house by now, not this little shanty. If we ate some of those birds, maybe we'd have better luck. That's what they say. They say eat a bird, and then it'll make you feel better." or it might kill you because this is the Middle Ages and we don't know to cook up birds.
I'm pretty sure they know how to cook birds.
Oh, well, sometimes. That's what they say. So let's cook and eat whatever kind of birds you catch today. I don't care. I'm just so tired of your bullshit.
The birdcatcher agreed. And so the two of them went bird catching, and with their limed rods and nets. But on the day they caught nothing till sundown. And then just as they were returning home, they caught a beautiful gem-green parrot called a hiramin, a native of the Molucca Islands.
Molucca.
The birdcatcher's wife took the terrified bird in her hands and felt it all over and said,
"Oh, this is such a tiny bird. It reminds me of your little penis. It would hardly be a mouthful. There's no use killing it. I mean, it's no harm to anyone."
The hiramin said,
"What? What? Mother, don't kill me. Take me to the king. He'll give you a lot of money. Money.
The couple were taken aback on hearing the parrot speak, and when they recovered from their astonishment, asked the bird what price they should set. The hiramin answered,
"Rack, leave that to me. When the king asks my price, say, Rack, the bird will tell you this. He'll tell you his own price. He's quite the haggler, Rack. And then I'll mention a large sum."
So the birdcatcher took the bird to the palace the next day and offered it for sale. The king, delighted by its beauty of the bird, green as an emerald, asked him what he would take for it. The man said,
"His Highness may kindly ask the bird, and it'll tell you."
The king said,
"What? It can talk? That's my kind of bird."
And he turned to the bird, half in jest, and asked,
"Well, Hiramin, what is your price then, Naaman?"
The hiramin said,
"Well, please, your majesty, my price is 10,000 rupees. Rock. Don't think my price is too high. Count out the money to this man. It'll be a great service to you. Rock. I'll be of great service to you. Rock."
The king laughed and said,
"Oh, of what service can you be to me, little bird? I already have an army of armored geese."
The hiramin said,
"Your majesty, we'll see that in due time."
The king, amazed by the way the bird talked to him, ordered his treasurer to count out the sum of 10,000 rupees to the birdcatcher. The king had 6 queens, but he was so taken up with the bird that he almost forgot their existence.
"Oh, I forgot about all my queens."
His days and nights were spent in the company of not of the queens, but of the birds. The hiramin not only replied intelligently to every question, but recited the names of the 330 million gods of the Hindu pantheon.
Well, it goes on for a while.
And hearing of which is itself an act of piety.
Let's go ahead and list all those. Tonight's episode is the first 17-hour-long episode.
I know, right? The queens felt quite neglected by the king and became jealous of the bird and decided to kill it. It was some time before they got an opportunity, but as the bird was the king's inseparable companion, one day the king went out hunting and was away for 2 days. The 6 queens thought that this was their chance to put an end to the bird and said to one another,
"We'll go out and ask the bird which of us is the ugliest for some reason. And whoever is judged by the bird to be the ugliest shall strangle it."
Then they went into the room where the bird was. But before the queens could put any questions, the bird sweetly and piously recited the names of the 330 million gods and goddesses.
And then it was like 2 weeks later. So.
The hearts of the 6 queens melted into tenderness, and they came away without doing any harm to the bird. The following day, their jealousy and ill will returned, and they called themselves fools for being so charmed by the bird. So they steeled their hearts against all pity and went there this time determined to kill it at once. They said,
"Oh, hiramin, we hear that you're a very wise bird, and your judgments are always right. Please tell us which of us is the prettiest, and which of us is the ugliest."
The bird, knowing their evil design, said to them,
"How can I answer your question when I'm in a cage? To make a proper judgment, I must look minutely at each of one of you, limb by limb, front, and butthole. If you wish to know what I think, pull out your starfish and set me free.
Hi. At first, the women were afraid to set the bird free, lest it should fly away. On second thoughts, they set it free after shutting all the doors and windows of the room. But the clever bird had examined the room already and seen a water passage in one corner through which it could escape. When the queens had repeated their question several times, the bird said,
Ah! Ah! Talk of your beauty. There's more beauty in the littlest toe of the princess who lives beyond the 7 seas and 13 rivers than all 6 of you.
The queens were furious to hear their beauty thus slighted, and they rushed towards the bird to tear it to pieces. But before they could reach it, it escaped through the water passage and took shelter in a woodcutter's hut nearby. When the king returned from hunting, he did not find his Hieroman on its perch. He asked the queens, and they said that they didn't know anything about it. He had the whole palace searched, but could not find his birds. He was so grief-stricken and began to say all day,
Oh, Hieroman, where are you?
The ministers even feared for his sanity. They sent out town criers throughout the kingdom.
Now's the point that they fear for his sanity.
I know, right?
He's armed geese and uses them to guard the castle. He has a pit that he just throws people into spontaneously. If it's your birthday and your name starts with a C, report to the king's pit.
They sent out town criers throughout the kingdom to proclaim by beat of drum that anyone who found the king's pet parrot would be rewarded with 10,000 rupees. The woodcutter heard the proclamation and happily brought the bird to the palace and got his reward. The king now heard from the parrot how the queens had tried to kill it. Mad with rage, he banished the 6 queens to the wilderness, where, it was rumored a few days later, the wretched women were all devoured by wild beasts. This is in Channel
He
6
banished them
News.
to the woods, and, he was just kind of like, you should go live in the woods. And then he forgot he had banished like 30 tigers there just the other day.
After some time,
Whoopsie.
the king says to the parrot,
Hieroman, you said that none of them even had the beauty of the little toe of the princess who lives beyond the 7 seas and 13 rivers and 14 kingdoms. Do you know how I can get to her? Do you have a digits, maybe? Or, know how I could hit her up?
Hieroman says,
Rack, of course I do. I can take you to the door of a place. Well, Rack, if you do as I tell you, you'll soon have her in your arms. Actually, she's waiting for you. She doesn't know it yet, though. Okay.
the king says,
I'll do whatsoever you tell me. Where do I begin?
the Hieroman says,
Rack, what you need is a taxi rash, a winged horse. Rack, if you can get one, you can ride on it. We'll cross the 7 seas, 13 rivers, and 14 kingdoms. 19 woods.
and 12
Rack,
buttholes.
12 buttholes. Rack. 6 corpses of you, because, your ex-wives are out there.
The king says,
I have, as you know, a large stable of horses, as well as an army of geese, trained in Taekwondo. Why don't we go now and have the geese just lift me into battle? Away, geese! I shall poop on the heads of my enemies. Why don't we go now and see if we have any of these Poochie-rages that you're talking about there? I might have them. If not, we can just mount a goose.
The king and the Hieroman went to the royal stables and examined all the horses. The Hieroman passed by all the fine-looking horses and lighted upon a lean, wretched-looking pony and said,
Right, there's the horse. It's a genuine Poochie-rash, right? But it must be fed for 6 months with the finest grains before it can do what you want it to do.
The king put the pony in the stable by itself and personally saw to it that it was fed every day with the finest grains in the kingdom. The pony rapidly changed its appearance, and at the end of 6 months, it became a magnificent steed. The Hieroman looked it over and pronounced it fit for service. Then the parrot asked the king to order the royal silversmiths to make some caius. Highest. Fried grains of rice out of silver. The silversmiths worked overtime and made a large quantity of silver highas. They were now ready for the aerial journey with the Hiraman, said to the king.
Hiraman.
He said to the king. He talked to the king.
Brack, I must tell you one more thing. Brack, please give the horse only one stroke of the whip.
Hey-yo.
It's only one stroke of the old penis there.
Just one. One and done.
One and done. He's a one and done kind of horse. If you give it more than one rack, we'll be stuck halfway and never reach the palace. When we return after the capturing of the princess, then too you must whip the horse only once. Rack! If you whip it more than once, we'll only get halfway.
See, that kind of concerns me when he says capturing, because he was like, nah, this bitch is waiting for you. She just doesn't know it.
So what we got to do is we got to swoop in the middle of the night and catch her unawares, like.
Fucking roofie her.
I mean, she's waiting. She's totally waiting for you.
Jesus.
Once she finds out she's in the sky and there's literally no way to get away from you other than death, like, you've got a 90% chance.
Yeah. You're just putting her in this predicament, you know?
It's the implication.
The king then mounted the Pakshira with the Hiraman and the bag of silver chayas and gently touched the animal once with his whip. The horse shot through the air with the speed of lightning and passed over many countries, crossed the 7 oceans and the 13 rivers and the Chinese buttholes, and landed at the very evening of the palace gates of the beautiful princess. Now there was a tall tree near the gate, and the Hiraman told the king to put the horse in the stable nearby, and then to climb the tree and hide himself in the branches. Creeper.
Yeah.
Then the bird...
It's totally normal.
The bird took the silver chayas, and with it in its beak began to dropping the kai over after kai from the foot of the tree, all the way through the corridors, right up to the door of the bedroom of the princess of peerless beauty.
Peerless.
Then it joined the king on the tree. Some hours after midnight, the princess's mid-servant...
It did swoop water unawares in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Oh, guys. Not cool.
Some hours after midnight, the princess's maidservant, who slept in the same room, came out for something, opened the door, and found the silver chayas. Not knowing what they were, she showed them to her mistress, who was so struck by the appearance of the little silver bullets that she too came out and began picking them up.
Ooh.
She saw...
Ooh, it's a caius. Ooh,
she saw... I don't know.
Ooh, it's a caius.
I think of like Moana when she's just walking.
Thinking of that Family Guy where they lead him with candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. Just following that. Ooh, it's a caius.
Yeah, she seems pretty stupid.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, look, another one.
I
hope you aren't leading me into a trap.
She saw a regular stream of them beginning at her door and going where she knew not. She knew that she had something exciting at foot, and she went on picking them up, bright, shining pieces, and they led her through the corridors until she came to the foot of the tree. At once the king jumped down from the tree, all according to the bird's instructions, caught hold of her, put her on his horse along with himself, and the Hiraman perched on his shoulders. The king gently touched the horse just once with the whip, and they whirled through space with the speed of lightning.
Why does the horse moan like that? It's just what it does. Just don't hit it twice, and I'll have to stop and smoke a cigarette.
But the king was so eager to get home quickly with his new won prize that he forgot and whipped the horse again.
I gotta stop for a cigarette.
At once the horse grounded itself outside of a dense forest.
Started smoking a cigarette and drinking some Gatorade.
The Hiraman cried,
Rocker, what have you done? Did I not tell you to never whip the horse more than once? You whipped it twice, and now it's spent. It's gonna take a nap. Now we're done for. We may be stuck here till we die. Rock. Can't you just walk the other half of the way? Or ride the horse? Oh, the horse is passed out. He smoked us.
Yeah, he's smoking now.
Yeah, he offered the king cab fare. Gonna get your cab fare. Cool.
But what was done. The Pakshiraj had become powerless, and the party was stranded far from home. They got down from the horse and found the place utterly deserted. They ate some fruit and slept the night there on the ground. The next morning, it just happened that the king of that country came there on a hunt. As he pursued a stag which he had pierced with an arrow, he came across the king and the princess. Struck almost blind by her dazzling beauty, he wanted her for himself, and he whistled for help, and his attendants flocked around him. He seized the princess and carried her off with him, but not before putting out the king's eyes. The king had crossed the 7 seas and 13 rivers for her sake, was left there sightless and alone.
Oh, no.
Yet not alone, for the good Hiraman was with him.
At least I have my bird, and I can always tame more geese.
The princess was taken into the palace of the king, and with her and the pony. When the king came near her, she told him that she was observing a 6-month vow of devotion to Siva, and that he must not come near her for those 6 months. She asked this because she knew it was a full 6 months before the Pakshiraj could recover its strength. Then she pretended to engage in religious ceremonies every day as part of her vow. And the king assigned a separate house for her. She took the Pakshiraj with her and fed it the choicest grains of the kingdom. But she needed the Hiraman to help her and thought of a rouse. She ordered her servants to scatter on the roof of her house heaps of rice, wheat, and all sorts of lentils and foods for the birds. Thousands of birds came to that roof every day to take part in the feast. The princess looked among the birds every day for the Hiraman, but the good bird was stuck in the forest. It had to take care of itself as well as the blinded king, and they both lived on fruit from various trees. The other birds would say to this parrot, "Oh, Hiraman, you are miserable here in the forest. Why don't you come with us for just a little while to that good lady's feast of grains? She scatters them for us like every day. We go there every morning. Eat our fill. All day long with thousands of other birds. We all are migrating. We all
There's a horse that moans there.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
It's a little weird. Yeah.
It's
He just keeps eyeballing us and
free
saying,
food, you know. The shrewd parrot could guess what the pious lady was and why she was throwing this open party for the birds, and decided to go with them one morning. The Hiraman saw the princess, talked to her about the blinded king, and told her how to cure him of his blindness, and how she could escape. This was the plan. As the 6 months had nearly gone by, the pony would soon be ready for flight, and the king's blindness would be cured if the Hiraman could bring a fresh excrement of the chicks of Bahingmangama.
He's gonna rub some poop on it.
The Bahingama birds in the trees outside the gates of the princess's own palace beyond the 7 seas and the 13 rivers. The very next day, the Hiraman started out, reached the spot of night, and waited for morning. At dawn, it waited below the nest of the birds with a leaf in its beak, gathered the shit from the chicks, and then it flew back over the seas and the rivers and applied the precious shit to the sightless sockets of the king's eyes.
That's how you get pink eye.
The king at once opened his eyes.
Oh, they're so gummy.
And saw. In a few days, the Pakshiraj was ready and in fine fettle. On the appointed day, the princess escaped to the forest on the pony, picked up the king and the Hiraman, and all three reached the king's capital in no time.
It's nice of her to stop for her abductors.
I know.
I would have been like, fly me back to my castle and fuck those guys.
Right. The king and the princess.
Pick up little pieces of silver.
He was a handsome king, remember?
Yeah, he's a handsome king.
The king and the princess were soon married in a gorgeous ceremony and lived happily for a long time.
It was presided over by a goose.
Many sons and daughters.
Many sons and daughters.
The Hiraman was always with them, reciting the names of the 330 million gods of the Hindu pantheon.
Oh, not again, Hiraman.
God
Oh,
damn.
it's coming. It's
So
fucking
beautiful,
coming.
though.
Ah!
At the same time, I'd be so annoyed.
Yeah. Could you stop repeating that in that shrill parody voice you have?
I accept it once a week.
Once a week.
With that. Story 4.
Story number 4.
A plague story.
Oh, yuck.
Once a terrible bubonic plague broke out in Asia and wiped out millions of people.
God
The
damn.
pious king of Bharat summoned all the old and wise priests of the realm to find ways to arrest the sweeping plague. He said to his assembled priests,
The plague has come very near to the borders of my kingdom. Tell me what I should do to save my people.
The priests conferred for a long time, and their spokesman said to the king,
Oh, hey there, my lord. This is a visitation from the great god Siva there, and we must appease him by offering him some worship and prayers and stuff throughout the kingdoms. A couple of virgin sacrifices maybe should help too. Yeah, I know you got some virgins lying around.
The king at once ordered that worship and prayer be offered in every Siva temple and in every home. He paid for it all with his royal coffers. A week after the priests began their worship, one midnight, the great god Siva appeared before the senior priests and said,
What do you want?
The priest's hair stood on end, and he prostrated himself full length on the ground before the great god and stammered,
Hey there, Siva, Lord of the universe and whatnot. You know what we want there. Save us from this plague thing we got coming near our borders down over there.
The god replied,
Done. Your prayers and virgins have pleased me. Myself and Dandy will guard your country against all evil.
and then he vanished.
Peace, bitches. Deuces, I am.
Early next morning, the happy news was conveyed to the king, who rewarded each of the priests with 25 milch cows and 50 bags of cowrie shells, and sent them home.
That is a very strange king thing a very king-like thing to do. I
couldn't
have
have been
47 cows and 3 bags of fiddlesticks.
You're not getting any of the war geese.
Yeah. Now be gone, or my geese will attack your country and leave no survivors.
Now Nandi was posted to see that the plague did not enter the kingdom. He watched the borders vigilantly day and night, and one night, as he was on his rounds along the frontiers, the grim plague assembled a body and a shape, and appeared before him, threatening to enter the kingdom. Nandi, with his trident lifted high, and shouted,
Hi there, get out of my sight, you villain. One step more and you'll be finished.
The hideous figure would not give way so easily, and their monstrous scuffle between the two giant figures. It went on for several days. Several hills were demolished, and great trees were uprooted as the giant bodies dashed against them. At last a truce was made, and they came to terms. It was agreed that plague would stay only for one day in the capital and take only one man as its victim. But the next evening a great hue and cry had raised through the city, for it was reported not 1 or 2, but 100 men had died of plague. The king sent at once for the priests and asked for an explanation. They hastened anxiously to Nandi and asked him a reason, and Nandi flew into a rage and ran out and searched the plague. He met with him on the dusty floor of a ruined house and caught him by the neck and thundered,
Hey, you little scoundrel. You broke your promise. You've not taken 1 but 100 victims. You'll pay for this.
Even from under Nandi's grip, the plague let out a peal of laughter and said,
Brother, I've not broken my promise. Don't be angry with me. I did actually take only 1 man, as I promised. But I showed this horrible, grotesque form to everybody, so 99 other people died out of fear. What could I do? These people had a simple fever, and a little swelling of the glands. They mistook them for signs of my approach. They died of fear. I had nothing to do with it. I did poke a couple of glands, though, I will be honest.
Nandy loosened his iron grip and let the plague go.
Okay.
The end.
You just go on now, you little scamp.
Well, if that's what he says, I mean, that's got to hold up in court, right?
Well, he said brother when he started, so that means he's for reals.
Bruh.
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 Bruh. Your argument is heard, plague demon.
And our last story of the night.
The last story of the night. The final. The monkey and the crocodile.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On the banks of the Ganges, a monkey lived in a rose apple tree. The rose apples were delicious and plentiful.
Yummy.
And while he was eating them, the obvious relish one day. A crocodile came out from the river, and the monkey threw down a few rose apples and said,
These are the best rose apples in the world. They taste like nectar.
The crocodile chomped on them and found them truly wonderful. The monkey and the crocodile became friends, and the crocodile took to visiting the monkey every day to eat the fruit on the wonderful tree and to talk in its shade. One day, the crocodile went home and took some of the fruit to his wife. The wife asked,
Oh, these are wonderful. They taste like nectar. Where did you get them from?
He said.
From a tree on the banks of the Ganges.
The wife said.
Oh, but you can't climb a tree. Did you pick them up from the sands? Are these fucking sand apples?
He said.
No, I made a new friend who lives in the tree. A monkey. He throws them down for me, and we talk for hours and do friendly stuff. Friends do.
She says.
Oh, so that's why you've been coming home late, smelling like monkey. A monkey that lives on such fruit must have such sweet flesh. His heart would probably taste like heaven. I'd love to eat it. Do you mind if I murder your friend and eat his heart?
The crocodile didn't like the turn of this conversation was taking and said,
Hey, how can you even talk like that? He's my friend. He's like a brother-in-law to you, damn it.
But the wife sulked instead.
I don't care if he is. I really want his heart. I'm kind of, you know when you start thinking about chocolate and then you're like, oh, now I've done it. Now I've got to eat some chocolate or I'm not going to calm down. That's how I'm thinking about his heart. You know, why are you so taken with this monkey? Are you banging this monkey? Is it a he or a she? Huh? Bring me his heart or hers. Which is even better. If you find a female monkey, I would like that more. Or else I'll starve myself to death, and it'll be your fault. I'll tell everyone on the Facebook that you abused me and caused me to starve myself.
The crocodile tried his best to talk her out of her jealousy and ill will, but he couldn't. So he agreed to bring the monkey home on his back for a meal, as it were. The next day, he invited the monkey to go home with him. He said,
Thinking about that would be one of the scariest things ever to just encounter when you're walking through the woods.
Right.
Yep, that's a monkey riding a crocodile. I am going to leave now.
Go, bye.
My wife has heard so much about you. She loved them rose apples. She wants you to come home with me. If you come down from the tree and sit on my back, I'll take you there.
The monkey says. Put your lines together, sir.
You are a crocodile. Live in the water. I can't even swim. I'll drown and die.
The crocodile says.
Oh, no. I'll take you carefully on my back. We don't live in the water. We live on a dry, sunny island in the middle of the river. Come with me. You'll enjoy it.
The monkey was persuaded to come down, and he brought handfuls of rose apples for the crocodile's wife. As the crocodile swam through the river, he felt terribly guilty. His conscience wouldn't allow him to take his friend home and let his wife make a meal of his heart, without at least telling him what he was doing. So he said,
Listen, friend, I haven't been quite straight with you. My wife sent me here today to bring you home because she wants to eat your heart. That's what she wants, and I couldn't go against her wishes.
The monkey says,
Oh. That's what she wants, my heart. Why didn't you tell me this before? I would have been happy to bring it down and give it to your wife.
The crocodile asked.
What do you mean?
The monkey says.
Well, I don't carry my heart around with me. I usually leave it in the tree when I come down. Let's go back and I'll give it to you.
So the crocodile turned around and swam back to the bank, and the monkey quickly jumped off its back and clambered up into the tree for safety.
Mm-hmm. Now I throw my poop at you.
The end.
The end.
So I hope you all enjoy that. So if you like that, y'all should like and subscribe.
The real happy ending to that story is the fact that Crocodile and Mrs. Crocodile did eventually get a divorce. Mm-hmm. He's a lot happier now. He's moved in with Monkey. They've got kind of a bachelor pad situation going on.
Yeah, he lives below.
Yeah, in the downstairs. We're gonna make a sitcom about it.
She did get custody though.
She did get custody of Baby Crocodile. Yeah, and
but he does have visiting
She's
rights.
got a boyfriend that's an alligator.
Yeah,
it's real awkward.
It's very awkward.
Yeah, tune in Tuesday nights on TBS. Crocodile and Monkey.
So yeah, if you guys liked that, just hit the thumbs up button
thumbs
there.
Up, like,
subscribe
give us some stars,
to us,
review us, let us know what you think. Tell us things. Whisper sweet nothings in our ear, even if it's a nice, you suck.
I mean, I got a verbal request for Thai stories. So
we got some Thai coming. I'm going to put out.
I wish y'all get started.
Be sure to check out our Twitter page at Howley_boys, HAOLE_BOYS. Follow us. Yeah, we're going to start posting some polls and stuff like that. Give you guys the opportunity to help us pick some episodes because we like you guys.
Yeah, it's always nice to have options to be like, oh yeah, I would like to check this out someday. Might not watch it right away, but I clicked the button. I clicked it.
Yeah.
It was me.
It was me. Yeah. Yeah. We will catch you guys next time.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Bye.